Welcome back to OpenLine. Our last caller, Mike, had some tough comments. He said after attacks, the media is quick to say not all Muslims are jihadists, but our caller said, but the Quran says a good Muslim is a jihadist. That is the way some people feel. All right, so let's now respond to the last caller.
Sure. First, perhaps with a statistic, the vast majority of casualties who fall to extremist Islamic terroristic attacks, the vast majority of the casualties are Muslim. They're Iraqis, they're Syrians, they're others. Those are the numbers. The Muslim community, whether it's Muslim community in the Middle East, or whether it's Muslim communities, our neighbors in Nashville and in America, is threatened by ISIS, is threatened by radical, violent, jihadist versions of Islam. The vast majority of these communities speak out against this threat, this existential threat that they feel directly from these from ISIS, Al-Qaeda, the Taliban, and their kin.
I would say, I bet they're threatened in more ways than one. I mean, they feel physically threatened, but when they hear calls like that, their whole ideology is threatened in a way. If public opinion gets to the point that that's the way large groups of people feel, then that's got to be a threat to Islam.
Mm-hmm. I can't speak for the Muslim community, not being a Muslim, but I think it is we can easily imagine, right, a voice coming from the Muslim community, again, internationally or even locally, right, saying, please do not paint us with the same brush. We as Americans in our history at times have wanted to say the same kind of thing. There are chapters in American history that we would want to say, sure, it's American history, but don't paint us all with that same broad brush, is one point. Second would be to say, again, back to this point about healthy communities, healthy, thriving, integrated Muslim communities are the best antidote to extremism. These Muslim communities, I think, would want to also say, help us. Help us in our struggle. We are threatened. You're threatened by the same the same dangers. We agree that this must stop, that this must be contained, that we've got to resist this threat to us. I'm imagining the Muslim voice, right, coming back saying, help us to resist and help us to thrive, and we will overcome these challenges, the challenge of extremism.
So as a professor, and I keep going back to that, of religion, how optimistic are you about things going forward? If you look back on history, there have been tough times, certainly, there's been a great deal of conflict. For some, it feels like there's great conflict now between Christianity and Islam, and the most extreme voices and that kind of thing. How optimistic are you about us going forward, our ability to live together?
I think that's well put, to say that the loud voices, right, are the ones getting the headlines on both sides. That is to say, the disturbingly violent and provocative media, right, reports that ISIS generates about itself. Right? It sort of revels. It's part of its message. Is the shocking nature of its actions, the violence. And another loud voice, right, are the voices of sharp, dismissive, categorical divisions that are to be put up to protect America from the Islamic threat. So these voices saying, well, let's In other words, let's exclude Muslims from our shores. Let's surveil. Let's bracket the civil rights of Muslims living among us in this country. Those kinds of voices, also the loud voices that are going to get the headlines. I think that this is the sort of difficult short-term experience that we're having as a country, and I think with our strong political, ethical, and communal sensibilities, right, in this country, the deep commitment to individual rights and to tolerance and to pluralism and diversity in this country, maybe not today. I think before too long, Muslim communities will find their footing, will integrate, and we will be living in a more diverse America someday.
And so you're optimistic. Okay. All right. I'm encouraged by that. We have 3 minutes left. Let's go to Bill. Bill, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Go
and
right
my
ahead.
question is probably not as intellectual as some, and it might have been answered to some degree by the previous caller, but this is more of an emotional question. Is there any other world religion where their idea of God can be interpreted to reward its followers for killing themselves and others if the others don't accept the Muslim ideas of God? Is there any other world religion that can be interpreted in that fashion?
As a professor of religious studies and that kind of thing, what about that? What do you say there?
We've been talking about ISIS and giving them, putting them front and center in our conversation, and for, I think, justifiable reasons. But the preponderance of religious leadership in the Islamic world has come out over the last decades very clearly against this violence, against the idea that there would be a reward for someone who committed suicide, against the claim that there would be a reward for killing non-believers. The vast majority of religious leadership in the Islamic world is explicit in their denial and denunciation of that idea. And again, right, the picture is one where we have an extremist ideology that cherry picks, right, scriptures, right, that pulls out passages that strings them together in these unnuanced, self-serving ways that surely misrepresent the majority of Muslim perspectives.
And so other faiths would have that same problem. If you were to cherry pick certain verses, and you mentioned some other faiths, even Buddhism, and if you wanted to be extreme, you could use religion to do it. All right, now we have to take a break. All right, we'll take a break. We'll be back right after this.